The Galactic Empire had always looked down upon Earth. To them, it was just a small, insignificant planet on the edge of the galaxy, filled with primitive beings who had barely discovered the secrets of space travel. The Empire had conquered countless worlds, each more advanced than the last, and they laughed at the idea of Earth ever becoming a serious threat. In the heart of the Empire, officials gathered in a grand meeting room. They discussed the latest reports on Earth, and each one chuckled at the thought of a human fleet challenging them. They had seen the human attempts at space exploration, flashes of light and feeble rockets that barely escaped Earth's atmosphere. The idea that a tiny, underdeveloped planet could pose a threat to their mighty empire was absurd. Earth? A joke, said Emperor Veros, his voice thick with amusement. Their technology is centuries behind ours. A few scientists and a handful of ships. They have nothing to worry about. The other leaders laughed along with him, agreeing that Earth was no more than a footnote in the history of the galaxy. For them, it was a place to mock, a place where they could send their spies or test new weapons, nothing more. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the situation was different. The people of Earth had no idea they were the subject of mockery. They lived their daily lives, unaware of the growing tensions in the galaxy. But there was a secret that only a select few knew about. Deep underground, hidden away from the prying eyes of the world, a new kind of technology was being developed. Technology that could change everything. Dr. Clara Ross, one of Earth's top scientists, stared at the glowing blue screens before her. For years, she and her team had been working on a project so dangerous, so ambitious, that even the governments of the world hadn't fully grasped its potential. It was the future of humanity, teleportation, the ability to move across vast distances in the blink of an eye. Can it really work? Dr. Ross whispered to herself, her fingers dancing over the holographic controls. Can we really make this happen? She looked at her colleagues, who were equally nervous and excited. They had made progress, huge progress, but it was still untested. No one, not even the greatest minds in the galaxy, had ever successfully moved objects or people across space like this. It was the kind of technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy, and yet, Earth had kept it hidden. For now, only a few knew what was coming. The rest of the world had no idea that the very thing the Galactic Empire mocked was about to turn into their worst nightmare. The Galactic Empire continued to dismiss Earth as a threat, but whispers of strange occurrences around the planet began to reach their ears. For weeks, unexplainable events had been happening, and the Empire's most skilled scientists couldn't figure out why. Ships that were supposed to be in one location suddenly appeared light years away. Satellites vanished from their orbits only to reappear in different parts of space. There was no clear explanation, and the Empire grew increasingly curious. The humans can't be responsible for this, Emperor Veros said dismissively, staring at a report on his desk. We know their technology. They've barely reached the edge of their own solar system. This must be some kind of mistake. But the reports kept coming in, anomalies that couldn't be ignored. It wasn't just random incidents. These were calculated movements, almost like a pattern. But the Empire was still convinced there was a simple explanation. They decided to investigate further. The Galactic Empire dispatched a special team of scientists and engineers, led by Commander Velka, to monitor Earth. Their mission was to find the source of these disturbances and report back with a solution. Velka, known for his sharp mind and no-nonsense attitude, was confident that the situation was nothing more than a human misunderstanding of basic physics. Humans and their strange experiments, Velka muttered, glancing over the data. They've probably been playing with their space devices again. Let's see what they're really up to. The team was set to observe Earth from a distance, gathering data and analyzing the behavior of objects that had vanished and reappeared. At first, nothing seemed unusual, until they saw it. A ship, a small human vessel, appeared out of nowhere right in front of one of their observation stations. The ship wasn't traveling by normal means. It wasn't moving in the traditional sense. It had simply appeared, as if it had crossed an impossible distance in an instant. Velka's eyes widened as he stared at the readings on his console. "What in the galaxy?" he whispered, unsure of what he was seeing. The human ship had just blinked into existence, as if it had teleported. The team was stunned. Velka immediately ordered the ship to be tracked, but every time they tried to lock onto it, the human vessel would disappear again, only to reappear miles away. It wasn't just a random fluke. It was intentional. The humans had somehow harnessed the ability to move through space without traveling through it. This can't be possible," Velka said, his mind racing. The technology required to manipulate space-time itself was far beyond anything the Empire had ever encountered. The Empire had explored the galaxy for centuries, and yet Earth had somehow created a method of teleportation that was unheard of, unthinkable. As Velka and his team continued to observe, they realized the truth. Humans had been hiding something far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined, and the Empire had made a grave mistake by underestimating them. Back on Earth, Dr. Clara Ross sat in a hidden underground lab, watching the results of the latest test. Her heart raced as she saw the data confirming that teleportation was possible. The technology was real, and with it, Earth was about to take a giant leap forward. The Galactic Empire, meanwhile, had no idea what was coming. The power that Earth had unlocked was far beyond their wildest dreams. The balance of the galaxy was about to shift forever. As the Galactic Empire continued to observe Earth, they were unaware that the human military was preparing for something monumental. The teleportation technology that had been developed in secret was about to be tested on a much larger scale. Dr. Clara Ross and her team had worked tirelessly, and now they were ready to send an entire fleet of ships across the galaxy in a single blink of an eye. If the test worked, it would change everything. For the first time, Earth's military command was allowed to witness the power they had been hiding. A massive underground facility, deep in the heart of a desert, stood ready for the test. This was no ordinary test run. This was a demonstration of humanity's potential. Captain Thomas Bradley, a high-ranking officer in the United Earth Fleet, paced nervously as he watched the preparations. He had heard rumors about the teleportation technology, but he never thought it would be ready for a real test. Today, however, would prove humanity's strength, or show how fragile their dreams were. "This is it, Captain," Dr. Ross said, her voice steady but filled with anticipation. "If it works, we'll have the power to take the fight to the Empire itself." Bradley nodded, though doubt flickered in his eyes. "And if it fails?" Dr. Ross looked at him and smiled. "It won't fail. We've calculated everything. The technology is ready." The fleet, consisting of several advanced human ships, was lined up and ready for the test. Each ship had been specially modified to handle the teleportation process. The fleet would move together as one unit, crossing unimaginable distances in an instant. The coordinates were set, one of the farthest planets within the Empire's territory. Bradley's heart raced as the countdown began. His hands gripped the console in front of him. He had been briefed on the technology, but there was still a sense of disbelief. How could something like this work? How could humanity suddenly possess such power? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The room fell silent as the final countdown echoed through the facility. The moment the countdown ended, the fleet vanished. The massive ships were gone, as if they had never existed. The room was filled with stunned silence. It felt as if time itself had frozen. Then, just as suddenly, the ships reappeared, not on the same launch pad, but in a completely different part of the galaxy, millions of miles away, right in front of their designated destination. The fleet had successfully teleported. "Unbelievable," Captain Bradley muttered under his breath as he stared at the data scrolling across his screen. They had done it. The human fleet had just crossed the entire galaxy in the blink of an eye. It was a victory unlike any other. Humanity had just unlocked the key to the stars. Back on Earth, the leaders of the United Earth Fleet were watching with wide eyes. The test had been a success. They now held the power to move entire fleets across the galaxy in an instant. It was a game changer, and they knew it. "We've just made history," Dr. Ross said, her voice filled with awe. Captain Bradley looked out over the fleet, his mind racing with the possibilities. The Galactic Empire had no idea what was coming. Earth was no longer a laughingstock. They were now a force to be reckoned. The success of the teleportation tests spread like wildfire across Earth's military networks, but for the Galactic Empire, it was business as usual. The high-ranking officials, who had dismissed the human threat time and again, remained unshaken. They had seen no reason to worry about Earth's sudden leap in technology. After all, the Empire had conquered worlds far more advanced than Earth, and their intelligence suggested the humans were still just a tiny speck in the vastness of the galaxy. Emperor Veros leaned back in his chair, studying the latest reports from his fleet commanders. His fingers drummed on the armrest, a sign of his impatience. He had heard rumors of strange disappearances and sudden reappearances of human ships, but he still believed these were just coincidences. A few odd occurrences didn't change the Empire's view of Earth. "The humans are still insignificant," Veros said, his voice calm and confident. "They can't even hope to challenge us. Their technology is nothing compared to ours." His advisors and military officers agreed, nodding in unison. They had faced countless enemies, some far more dangerous than Earth's primitive race. A few failed experiments and reports of sudden appearances were hardly worth a second thought. "Let them play with their toys," General Krill, a veteran commander, said with a dismissive wave. "Their ships may move in strange ways, but they'll never stand against our might." Despite the mocking tone, a small part of Veros' mind began to worry. Even though his people had the most advanced ships, weapons, and technology in the galaxy, the idea of a fleet that could appear anywhere, without warning, unsettled him. He couldn't ignore it entirely, but he didn't want to admit the humans could be a real threat just yet. However, Veros wasn't foolish. He ordered his best scouts and spies to gather more information. It was time to dig deeper and uncover what Earth's true capabilities were. Meanwhile, Dr. Clara Ross and her team back on Earth were preparing for the next phase of their plan. The test had proven that teleportation could work, but they needed to refine it further. The next step was to ensure their ships could teleport anywhere in the galaxy at will, without limitations. If they succeeded, humanity would truly hold the power to control the stars. Ross stood in front of a massive holographic map of the galaxy, her mind racing. "We need to be ready," she said to her team. "The Galactic Empire might not take us seriously now, but that could change at any moment. We've proven that we can teleport, but we haven't yet proven we can do it on their turf. It's time to show them what we're really capable of." Bradley, who had been part of the first test, stood nearby, watching the map with a sense of determination. He knew the success of the next test would change the course of the galaxy forever. The Empire may laugh now, but soon they would see that Earth was no longer the weak, vulnerable planet they thought it was. As the preparations continued, the Empire's spies closed in, gathering information that they would later send back to their leaders. They still didn't know the full extent of humanity's abilities, but they were starting to realize that Earth's technology was more advanced than they had ever expected. The Galactic Empire had underestimated Earth, and it was only a matter of time before they would have. The Galactic Empire had spent months dismissing Earth's power, laughing at their supposed advancements. They believed the humans were still a minor species in the grand scale of the galaxy. But all of that was about to change. Earth's governments had kept their secret for as long as possible. The technology to teleport entire fleets across space, faster than anyone thought possible, was Earth's hidden weapon. But now, the time had come to reveal it to the galaxy. Humanity wasn't going to stay in the shadows any longer. Dr. Clara Ross stood at a podium in a massive conference room, surrounded by high-ranking military officials and the leaders of Earth's nations. On the large screen behind her was a holographic display showing the results of the latest teleportation tests. She had come to make an announcement, one that would change everything. Today, we stand on the brink of a new era for humanity, she began, her voice steady and confident. We have developed the technology to teleport entire fleets across the galaxy in an instant. We can strike anywhere, at any time, without warning. This is not a test. This is reality. The room was filled with murmurs of excitement and disbelief. Even the most hardened military officers had no idea that Earth's technology had reached such a level. They had been preparing for a future of slow, steady growth. But this was something else entirely. Captain Bradley, who had witnessed the first successful test, stood beside Dr. Ross. He couldn't help but feel a rush of pride and awe. The human race had taken the first step toward becoming a major power in the galaxy. They were no longer a footnote. They were a force to be reckoned with. We have hidden this technology from the rest of the galaxy, Dr. Ross continued. But the time for secrecy is over. We will not be overlooked anymore. We have the power to defend ourselves, and we will use it. Bradley knew that this announcement would send ripples through the galaxy. The Galactic Empire had mocked them, but they wouldn't be laughing now. He could already imagine the shock and disbelief the Empire's leaders would feel when they learned that Earth had unlocked the greatest power in the universe. Meanwhile, on the Empire's capital world, Emperor Veros and his advisors sat in a grand meeting hall, watching Earth's announcement unfold. At first, they thought it was just another human boast. But as they listened, something inside them shifted. Could it be true? Could humanity have developed the ability to teleport entire fleets across space? Veros leaned forward, his sharp eyes narrowing. "This is unexpected," he said, his voice low and tense. "We knew they were advancing, but this is a game changer." His advisors exchanged uncertain glances. "Should we take action, Your Majesty?" one of them asked. Veros didn't answer immediately. He was too deep in thought, considering the implications of Earth's new technology. If it was true, the Empire's superiority might not be as secure as they thought. He couldn't allow a race like humans to challenge the Empire's reign. "We need to learn more," Veros said finally. "Send a fleet to Earth. We'll observe and gather intelligence. If what they say is true, we will be prepared." Back on Earth, the news of their announcement spread quickly. People celebrated, but there was an underlying sense of unease. Earth had made its mark, but would the Galactic Empire accept their new place in the galaxy, or would they try to destroy what had been built? As the human leaders prepared for what was to come, one thing was certain. Earth was no longer the underdog. The Galactic Empire was about to find that out the hard way. The Galactic Empire had dismissed Earth's newfound power, believing the humans were still far from a real threat. But now, with the human fleet's teleportation technology exposed, the Empire had no choice but to act. Emperor Veros was no longer dismissing Earth as a joke. The power to teleport ships across the galaxy was something the Empire could not ignore. "We must crush this threat before it grows any stronger," Veros declared to his advisors. "Prepare the fleet. We'll send a message to Earth that no one dares to challenge the Empire." A massive fleet of warships, the best the Empire had to offer, was soon dispatched toward Earth. It was an overwhelming force, designed to show humanity that their power, no matter how impressive, was nothing compared to the might of the Galactic Empire. Back on Earth, Dr. Clara Ross and Captain Bradley watched as the news of the Empire's fleet heading toward their planet spread. The human military was ready for battle, but there was still uncertainty. No one knew what the Empire's response would be, and no one was sure how far they would go to defend Earth. "Are we ready?" Captain Bradley asked, his voice steady but tinged with worry. Dr. Ross nodded. "We've tested the teleportation system on small fleets, but this will be our first real test. If we can move our forces quickly enough, we have a chance. But we'll need to be smarter than they are." Bradley turned to the holographic map showing the incoming Empire fleet. "They'll expect us to fight conventionally," he said. "But we're not like them. We have an advantage they can't predict. The teleportation will throw them off." The tension on Earth was palpable as the countdown began. People stood in their homes, watching the skies, waiting to see if the Empire would come. But Earth wasn't going to let fear take hold. They had something that the Empire couldn't possibly understand. A new power, one that could change everything. As the Empire's fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, they found nothing. The human fleet had vanished. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. The Empire's fleet drifted in space, their sensors scanning for any sign of movement. But there was no sign of life, no sign of any human ships. "Where are they?" Commander Velka, one of the Empire's top officers, demanded. "How can they just disappear?" The answer came almost instantly. The human fleet reappeared, not in front of the Empire's forces, but behind them, miles away, in a strategic location. Earth's ships had teleported to a new position, just as Dr. Ross had promised. The Empire's fleet was caught off guard. The battle was fierce, with the Empire's ships struggling to predict where the human fleet would appear next. Each time they thought they had the upper hand, a human ship would teleport into a new location, launching surprise attacks from unexpected angles. The Empire was disoriented, unable to anticipate the movements of their enemies. Captain Bradley stood at the front of the human fleet, coordinating the movements of his ships as they teleported into battle. Each successful strike was a victory, but he knew they couldn't win this war with teleportation alone. They needed to keep their advantage, to stay one step ahead. As the battle raged on, it was clear that Earth's unexpected advantage was throwing the Empire off balance. They weren't ready for this kind of fight. They hadn't prepared for a battle where they couldn't predict where their enemy would be next. The Galactic Empire had underestimated Earth, and now they were paying the price. The Empire's massive fleet was struggling to adapt to Earth's teleportation tactics. Every time they thought they had cornered the human ships, the fleet would vanish and reappear in a completely different location, catching them off guard once again. Commander Velka gritted his teeth as he watched his fleet grow more disoriented. The Empire had faced many challenges before, but this was different. Earth's technology was like nothing they had encountered. It wasn't just that the humans could teleport their ships. It was the precision and unpredictability with which they did it. The Empire's ships were being struck from every angle, and they couldn't keep up. "Report." Velka barked into his comms. "Sir, we've lost contact with 2 of our destroyers. They were attacked by human ships appearing behind them." His officer replied, his voice strained. "This is impossible," Velka muttered. "How are they doing this? How are they always one step ahead?" Back on Earth, Dr. Clara Ross watched the battle unfold on a massive screen in the command center. She could see the Empire's fleet faltering, their ships scattered and struggling to regroup. The teleportation system was working, better than she had even hoped. But as much as they had the advantage now, she knew they couldn't rely on it forever. The Empire was too powerful, and they would learn from their mistakes. Earth needed a strategy to win, not just to surprise their enemies. "We can't keep them off balance forever," she said, more to herself than to anyone else in the room. "We need a real plan, something more than just teleporting around." Captain Bradley, who had been overseeing the military operations, approached her. He had seen the same thing she had. The Empire was in chaos, but only for now. "You're right. We need to prepare for when they adapt. We need to hit them hard, while we still have the element of surprise." Dr. Ross nodded. "We'll deploy our forces in clusters. We'll teleport in small groups, hit them fast, and then regroup. They won't be able to react quickly enough if we keep them scattered. But this is just the first part. We need to make them think twice before they come back for round 2. Bradley smiled, impressed with her quick thinking. "And we'll show them that Earth isn't to be underestimated. If they think we're weak, we'll make them regret it." As the battle continued, Earth's fleet kept up the pressure. With each new teleportation, the Empire's ships grew more scattered and confused. But the Empire wasn't going to back down. Velka knew they needed to adapt, or they would lose everything. He was watching his forces fall apart, and his pride as a commander was on the line. "They'll run out of surprises eventually," Velka muttered under his breath. "We'll get them. We just need to find a way to counteract their strategy." Meanwhile, the human fleet had one more trick up its sleeve. Using their teleportation technology, they moved their forces into key positions, surrounding the Empire's ships. The Empire's fleet, already battered, now found itself trapped. "Now it's time," Captain Bradley said, his eyes scanning the battlefield. "Let's finish this." The tide had turned. The Galactic Empire, once so confident in its superiority, was now on the defensive, struggling to find a way to fight back against an enemy they never took seriously. Earth had proven its strength, but the real test was still ahead. The Galactic Empire had underestimated humanity, but now they were in a dangerous position. Earth's fleet, with its teleportation technology, had caught them off guard time and again. The Empire's ships were scattered across the galaxy, unable to predict where the next strike would come from. Emperor Veros, once so confident in the power of the Empire, now stood on the edge of panic. The tide of battle was shifting in favor of Earth, and he knew he couldn't let that continue. "Prepare the fleet for the final assault," Veros commanded, his voice tight with frustration. "We'll show them what it means to challenge the Empire. No more surprises. We'll crush them." Commander Velka, though shaken by the events, stood by his leader's side. "We've learned from our mistakes, Your Majesty. This time, we will focus all our forces in one place. We won't be caught off guard again." The Empire's fleet began to regroup, converging on Earth's location. They were ready to make one final push to end the battle. But the humans weren't about to give up their newfound advantage so easily. On Earth, Dr. Clara Ross and Captain Bradley watched the incoming fleet, knowing that the next few hours would determine the fate of their planet. They had used their teleportation technology to stay one step ahead, but now the Empire was coming for them with everything they had. The battle was about to reach its peak. "We've come this far," Captain Bradley said, his voice steady but filled with determination. "But we need to be smarter. The Empire is throwing everything at us, and they won't stop until we're defeated. We have to make this count." Dr. Ross nodded. "I know. We can't just keep teleporting around. We have to use our technology to its fullest. If we hit them where it hurts, we'll have a chance, but we need to time it perfectly." The human fleet had been divided into smaller units, each moving with precision and agility. They had teleported into key positions across the galaxy, and now they had one final plan. Earth's ships would move in one coordinated strike, teleporting directly into the heart of the Empire's fleet. It would be their most daring attack yet. As the Empire's fleet drew closer, the human fleet made its move. Earth's ships vanished in an instant, reappearing in the middle of the Empire's forces, striking with lightning speed. The Empire's ships were caught off guard once more, their formations broken apart by the sudden arrival of human ships from all directions. "It's happening," Captain Bradley said, watching as his ships attacked the Empire's fleet. "This is our chance." The Empire's ships scrambled to retaliate, but it was too late. The surprise attack left them disoriented, and the humans were already on the move again, teleporting to new positions and striking with deadly accuracy. The Empire's mighty fleet, once so confident, was now in chaos. Commander Velka gritted his teeth, watching his fleet fall apart. "We can't keep up with them. They've got us surrounded." But it wasn't just the teleportation technology that made the difference. It was the human determination, their refusal to back down. They had fought for this moment, and they weren't going to let it slip away. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Empire couldn't recover. The once powerful fleet was crumbling under the relentless attacks of Earth's forces. With each strike, the humans took another step toward victory. And when the dust finally settled, the Galactic Empire had been defeated. Earth had won, not by overwhelming force, but by outsmarting the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Dr. Ross stood, watching the last of the Empire's ships retreat. "We did it," she said, her voice filled with disbelief and pride. "We showed them what humanity is capable of." Captain Bradley looked at her, his face serious but hopeful. "This is just the beginning. We've proven ourselves, but now we have to build. The galaxy will never look at Earth the same way again." The dust of battle had settled, and Earth's fleet stood victorious. The once mighty Galactic Empire's ships were scattered, with many retreating into deep space, their commanders humiliated by the surprising power the humans had displayed. The Empire had underestimated Earth, and now they were paying the price. Earth's teleportation technology had proved to be far more powerful than they had ever imagined. On the command deck of Earth's flagship, Captain Bradley looked out at the holographic map showing the results of the battle. The Empire's fleet was in disarray, but the victory didn't feel as sweet as he had imagined. Yes, Earth had won, but at what cost? There was still so much uncertainty about what would come next. "We did it," Dr. Clara Ross said quietly, standing beside him. "We actually did it. The Empire's retreating." Bradley nodded but didn't smile. He knew that this victory didn't mark the end of the story. The Empire would regroup. They always did. They wouldn't forget this defeat easily. "We've won the battle, but the war is just beginning," he said. Dr. Ross turned to him, concern in her eyes. "Do you really think they'll come back?" "I know they will," Bradley said, his voice firm. "The Empire won't just let this go. They'll be back, and when they come, we need to be ready. This victory isn't just a sign of our strength. It's a challenge, and we've just made ourselves their #1 target." Meanwhile, on the Empire's capital planet, Emperor Veros paced back and forth in his private chamber. His face was grim, and his mind raced as he processed the defeat. The humans had done the impossible. They had beaten the Galactic Empire. "Failure," Veros muttered, slamming his fist on the table. "How could this happen? We were supposed to crush them. They are nothing. They should have been nothing." His advisors remained silent, unsure of how to comfort their leader. Velka, however, was the first to speak. "Your Majesty, we underestimated them. We thought they were weak, but they were hiding something far greater than we ever imagined. Their teleportation technology is unlike anything we've ever seen." Veros glared at him. "You think this is just about technology. It's their courage. Their willingness to fight when they had no business doing so. They showed us their strength, and now they have the power to challenge us." The Empire was reeling, but Veros wasn't one to give up. He could not afford to allow such a humiliating defeat to stand. "Prepare the fleet," he commanded. "We'll rebuild, and when the time comes, we will crush Earth once and for all. No one defies the Empire and lives to tell the tale." Back on Earth, the mood was one of cautious celebration. People cheered in the streets, knowing that they had just accomplished something unimaginable. Earth had defeated the most powerful empire in the galaxy, but the leaders of Earth's military knew that their victory didn't mean they were safe. The Empire would not forget this defeat. They would come again, and when they did, Earth would have to be ready. Captain Bradley stood with Dr. Ross on the deck of the flagship, staring out at the stars. "We've won the first round. Now, we build, and when they come back, we'll be ready to show them that Earth is no longer just a small, insignificant planet." The victory against the Galactic Empire had shaken the galaxy to its core. Earth, a planet once seen as weak and insignificant, had now proven itself as a formidable force. The Empire, though bruised, was far from defeated, but the humans had shown the galaxy that they could stand tall and face any challenge. On Earth, the mood was one of cautious optimism. People celebrated in the streets, waving flags and singing songs of victory. They had done what no one thought was possible. But the leaders knew that this was just the beginning. The real test would come when the Empire returned, as it surely would. Dr. Clara Ross stood in front of a massive holographic map of the galaxy, her fingers moving quickly across the controls. The map was filled with markers showing the locations of Empire forces, Earth's own fleet, and potential areas of conflict. They had won the battle, but now they had to secure the future. "We can't rest on our laurels," she said quietly, as Captain Bradley walked up beside her. "The Empire will regroup. They'll come back stronger, and we need to be ready. Our technology is our greatest strength, but it's also a target. We must improve it, keep evolving, and stay one step ahead." Bradley nodded, his gaze fixed on the map. "The next time they come, we need to be prepared for everything. Teleportation isn't enough anymore. We have to think bigger. If the Empire is planning to rebuild, we need to stop them before they can." Dr. Ross paused, considering his words. "You're right. We've only scratched the surface of what this technology can do. We need to push it further. But it's not just about technology. We need unity. The galaxy must know that Earth will not be easily defeated. We've made enemies, but we've also made allies." Bradley looked out the window at the stars, his mind racing with possibilities. Earth was no longer just a small planet in the far corner of the galaxy. It was now a player on the galactic stage, and with that came both power and responsibility. The Empire had fallen once, but if Earth was to survive, they had to be ready to face whatever the Empire would throw at them next. "We've got the world's attention," he said. "Now we have to make sure we don't lose it. If the Empire wants a war, they'll get one. But this time, it won't be like the last." The days and weeks that followed were filled with planning and preparation. Earth's military began expanding its fleet, training soldiers, and refining the teleportation technology that had turned the tide of the battle. Dr. Ross and her team worked tirelessly to improve the system, developing new methods to make the fleet even more mobile and unpredictable. Meanwhile, the Empire was licking its wounds. Emperor Veros had not forgotten his humiliation, and his forces were already regrouping. They were rebuilding their fleet, preparing for a second assault. But Earth's leaders were not blind to the dangers. They knew that the next battle would be harder, but they were ready. They would not make the same mistakes again. On Earth, there was no turning back. The victory had shown them what they were capable of, and it had awakened something in humanity that could not be undone. A fire had been lit, and the galaxy would never be the same. As Earth's fleet continued to grow stronger, its resolve hardened. The Galactic Empire had learned the hard way that humanity was not to be underestimated, and when the Empire returned, Earth would be ready. A new era had begun, one where Earth was no longer just a speck in the vastness of space. It was a force to be reckoned with, and its future was bright.